Hello, Billy the Artist here, and here's a blank piece of paper, there's the 2B pencil, and this week we are going to be drawing Max from The Secret Life of Pets. We did Gidget the week before, white and fluffy, nice and easy. This one's going to be quick as well, but I thought I will also show you this. This is my oil painting of Guy Martin, and this is from the 2015 TT. He's not ridden in this year's TT because he was off doing the Tour Divide as Terry Smith. It's a cycle race from Canada to the New Mexico, all across the USA. Check out the time-lapse of Guy Martin, and that's the oil painting from start to finish. Enjoy that. But today we are doing Max from The Secret Life of Pets. Nice and quick. And we are going to just fly in very, very quickly with the pencil. Now, I am just whacking some lines down here for you, nice and easy. And as you can see, the centre, his neck will, the collar around Max's neck will be in the centre. And so we need down where his feet are at the bottom of the page, quite nicely. And we're just going to do boxes. So his head, let's say from the top, pretty much, is going to be here. So I'm going to whack in a very big box. And then his hips here are going to join. So you could do a box all the way up. So you've got two big boxes for Max. And then his ear comes off to the side. So there's a box for his ear and a little triangle will go in there. And then again, another box at the top. So these are nice and quick, and his nose is going to come out a little bit. And we can do another box for his big nose, his snout and his muzzle. And the shapes, his colour, his head's a little bit tilted off on that side. But that's using dead simple boxes. And again, if you check out how to draw anything, part 1, it shows you how to use these shapes just to block in quickly. So if I put a triangle, a diagonal line in there, round to his feet, we can start seeing the shapes very simply make up the basis for your drawing. And then you can rub them out, your construction lines out afterwards, quite simply and quickly. But here you just see me just knock in really quickly some shapes. So the centre of the page is roughly where his collar is, so we could just whack a line around there and put his little name tag in, which again will be a little box there and a box on the end to make the bone, and you can just draw the shapes in quite easily afterwards to make the shape. But I'm just whacking these construction lines in nice and quickly. So his legs down there and his other front paw and his tiny, I mean, lovely. I mean, those accentuated. This is like a caricature of a dog, which they do in animation. So you look at any caricature, it accentuates features. So he's got these tiny little paws and these really nice and thin legs that go up, and then they just V out a little bit. And again, his back leg is just hunched under, and again, his other back paw is hunched under, and just a little bit of a kind of circle. So again, very quickly you saw me just put down those shapes in a very short space of time. And so now I'm going to show you how just to do the detailed line nice and quick, and then you can fill it in. And again, you can use colours to fill it in, you can use felt tips, you could use pencil cranes. I'm just using my trusty 2B pencil again, as I normally do, to encourage you in this. But again, do check out the how to draw anything part 1 and part 2. Links are in the cards, kind of top corner of the YouTube video for people on mobiles and tablets, but also in the description below. But now we are going to very quickly knock in Max. But again, we need his eye. So this eye is a little bit smaller, so there's a little circle, little shape, and we need that eye is a little bit bigger, slightly bonkers looking, is our Max. He's a little bewildered, which is quite good fun, but again, it should make for a good character. So again, I am going to start now. We're going to put in the line of the brown different side of his head, and the side of his head going off past his left eye down to the side of his head down here. And I'm going to darken this line down to where his collar is, and then here you can see, because halfway across the box where that line of the brown comes over is where his nose is, and his nose comes around and you just get a nice oval shape, and that spins around quite nicely. And then his nostrils, and you can see how the shape of the nostrils is just a couple of little smaller ovals, and we'll darken them down quite quickly. And then let's just shade that in so you've got a nice big reference point in the centre. Nice and quickly, and because the light's kind of coming from this direction, we can just shade over the side there and darken down around where his nostrils are. And then if we bring, I'm going to do a nice dark line coming down. So here we've got his mouth quite pursed, and his jawline is going to come down, and so that's his jaw coming under, and it joins the side of his head, and his head's slightly tilted, so even though you've got this box in, this is where you draw a slight diagonal going over, and that goes up over the top. Remember, just a slight diagonal. And here, where his ear goes over, you can see the side of his eye up to the top. Just draw a curve. You can see, imagine a little triangle there where his ear flops over and folds. As you can see in my hand there, just where the fingers fold over, that's the same with Max's ear. So again, we'll just, inside that box, you can see it's a little bit of a diagonal line, and it comes out just a little bit similar with the side of his snout, and just a curve for that ear, and that goes up right by the top of his forehead and underneath where his ear bounces up. So now if we put a dark line in for his eye, and his eye, his pupil inside isn't a perfect circle, that's a nice little bit of a woggly shape too. And then you want another one inside for the pupil, and remember, leave that a little bit of a white highlight. So I'll just accentuate that there. So the white highlight's on the top, but remember, you can always use a little bit of paint or a bit of a white crayon. And let's get this eye in. So this one's a bit smaller, and it's kind of diagonal over, and the top of his eye is kind of in between there, the top of his pupil and the top of his eyeball. So this one, whereas that one's kind of upright, this one's a little bit wider, so it's not a perfect egg shape, but it's wider across the width than it is tall on that side. Again, his eye on this one, these two, his pupil and his iris, are the same size, or very similar size. So again, you can do the pupil nice and black. Remember, leave the highlight and make the iris a little bit lighter. Now I've gone for that dark. Remember how I did with Gidget? You can use your eraser to put the highlight in. So I'm going to come in and quickly highlight his iris. because your rubber, your eraser, is as much a drawing tool as your pencil is. So now we've got, you need a box over here, a rectangle for his eyebrow, and then a little triangle on the top, and that's his big eyebrow, and then you want his surprised one going down there, and you can shade that in quite nicely, and that goes right to the top of his eyeball. And we can come over and do his left ear. Now again, you've got the box here for his ear, but it comes halfway down, so you've got the diagonal line, and you use your box to create your shape. So you've got that triangle there, top of his head, inside, and then the curve comes under his left ear and goes off up to the edge where it's a little bit fluffy, and a nice diagonal line up, and there's his ear going up. Just accentuate that a little bit. So you've got the outline without the shading, but we've got his nose in, and that builds up. You can see how the shapes within the boxes are coming together quite nicely. And so if we come down underneath his mouth, kind of in the middle of his mouth, that's going to come down, and we need his collar. So his collar, there's just the little bit that feeds through, where it comes through the buckle. So you've got the buckle that comes over just outside his neck, and it folds around the back. And you've got one hole there and one hole on this side of the loop where it comes through. And there's the part that holds his tag onto his collar. Again, the curve, use the curve of your wrist to make it work. And then we can just put a line in. And so you can see how the collar fits in quite nicely. Now I'm going to use the side. I'm going to do the rest of his body, and then we're going to shade him very, very quickly. And that's a nice blue if you're using your pencil crayons, a light blue. I'm just going to smudge that quickly with my finger. Remember, you can use your finger to smudge, or you can use paper towel or the smudging sticks. So now we've got this side coming off, and you just want a little bit of a kink for the shoulder coming down to where it comes around his back leg. So let's just put his little paw in there, and his front paws are a little bit lower than the back paws because they are in front just a little bit. And you just put the toes in, and that. And so here you've got his leg coming down, and then his right leg, the same thing. Just his chest, pushing that out a little bit, and his nice foot. And you can see there that his foot's kind of, toes are out to the right a little bit. And again, just think about your placing and your spacing, and it'll help you to actually make it work by putting the shapes in. So we've got his leg coming down there. Put that line a little bit dark at first. But again, like I say, just use your eraser to make sure that you get your lines cleaned up afterwards if you want to. If you just need to correct something, you can. So coming down now, we've got this little dink around his shoulder, and that comes down around his back leg, and that comes down, and you've got a little crease where his leg kind of folds down and under, and you can see the shadow lines coming down off his legs. causing and making the shape, and we'll get that sorted in a second. Now, here we have another little dink coming out of his right shoulder, above his right front leg, and then that will come down, and then you get a nice curve for the back leg again, and you can just put the shape in of his foot on his back leg, and that curves right onto the top. So there you've got the outline quite nicely. Again, use the side of your pencil, and we're going to shade in quick. Oh, actually, I just need to do his dog tag. So let's do the dog tag. There's the bone shape. Because you've got the boxes in already. So there's the nice bone shape, and you just need max in the centre bit. So there's your M, and an A, and an X. So again, if you use yellow and a kind of nice brown, if you're using colours, then you can colour that in. That's the kind of brassy bronze colour. I'm just going to pull that highlight up on that a second. Now we're going to shade him in nice and quickly. So his ear, if we do it all one tone, and you can see there it went over the side. Don't worry, again you can use your rubber to clean that up. And we'll get this tone down nice and quickly. And the shadow's coming here, so it's a little bit darker down the side of his head. You can create the shadow around his eye a little bit. And just where his ear tucks over, you can just press on a little bit more. And you can see that three-dimensional form as his ear bends around. Again, underneath here now, make that a little bit darker as you just shade. We can just shade the side of his eye a little bit. Nice and light around his eye. And then underneath this side here, again it's going to be dark, but we'll shade all of it in quick. And then again, just where it tucks over, you get a little bit of a darker piece coming underneath as his ear curves over. Really darken underneath, because that's the shadow bit. And then you want a nice lighter tone coming down the side of his jawline and underneath his jaw, coming to the front. A little bit of shadow underneath his nose. And there you go, you can see using the side of your pencil getting your tone down quite quickly. And you get the shadow line coming off from his jaw, so you can darken that little bit right underneath his jaw, coming across his dog tag, coming down his leg, down this side, down his leg, down his rear leg. So I'm just shading him very quickly, all down his body and down his front. Again, we've got the shadow that's cast a little bit darker off his leg. Let's just put a bit of a shadow that he's sitting on. I know there's like a mat he's sitting on there, but we'll just put a shadow in for him to sit on, for Max to sit nicely. And here we've got the shadow off that leg, so we can make that a little bit darker as his tummy tucks under. We can darken that down. And his side of his body. Now I'm going to use a bit of kitchen towel, and here you can see that Max has got his brown patches just showing through on the back, so you can just squiggle a little bit of a line on. I'm curving that round, and the shadow from his back leg there is a little bit darker. and we'll pull up his front legs in a minute. So here now, in fact, I'm going to use my finger and just push the shade around. And you can see how it smooths it out. And I'm just pushing the pencil around with my finger, just making it look nice and smooth around his mouth, underneath his nose, up under that top ear. You can see how the shape is being, you can see how the light's coming from this direction. It's giving more definition to the shape. Again, I'll push that up over that leg, all down that side, because he's not totally white, but the whitest point is going to be up here on his head and around his face. So now I'm going to get my putty rubber. I'm just going to clean off his eyes a little bit, and the top of his nose, and his forehead, and a little bit of highlight on his nose. And then clean up the front of his, just above his mouth, highlight on his lip using the rubber. Now again, you've got a reflected highlight underneath, so you can just pull that off with the eraser a little bit. It just gives him a little bit of definition. Again, he's got a highlight on his ear that gives it the shape. It comes down. And this is how quick and simple, again, as I say, just using the shapes and having fun, make big dramatic marks with your pencil. Use your finger to push it around, and you can do a really nice quick drawing and shade it in and make it work and look really good. So again, let's just darken this collar down, get the tones down a little bit, as the shadow's a little bit darker and stronger underneath. And we can shade his dog tag a little bit more. But then again, use your putty rubber and you can put a highlight on the actual metal parts and make them just stand out a little bit. But then you can just pull up the front of his legs, because his front legs are at the foreground and are standing out a little bit more. And you can just make his chest stand out a little bit. And that makes Max start to look a lot more three-dimensional. Down his right-hand side, because this is where the light's coming from. Again, just like Gidget, with it was nice and fluffy last week, you can pinch a putty rubber and you can create fur-type lines. And here, down his right leg, and you can make it look like fur using your rubber, just to erase out some of those bits that are on his chest to make it look like the fur and the fluff that you get on a dog as the shape pushes round and how it's created by the light. So let's just darken this down, and then we're pretty much nearly done. But this is how, as you can see, just very quickly. Again, I love doing this and encouraging you with your drawing to show you how easy it is to use shapes and just have fun. And this is how, as I say, I started and I learned to draw. Just using the shape to actually put it together. So there you've got Max, nice and quickly, using shapes to pull it together. And as you can see, the boxes all around the outside with the construction lines to actually make Max work. And you can, if you want, just rub all of those out. But that's how nice, quick and easy you can draw Max from The Secret Life of Pets. So go back and check out how to draw Gidget as well. So we've got Gidget and we've got Max. But please do like and subscribe, and do check out the How to Draw Basics Anything. Thanks very much for your time. I hope you've enjoyed doing Max, and go back and do Gidget, and there'll be more in the future. Thanks very much. Ta-da.